Welcome to JWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. If this is your first time checking out a video, please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. So without further ado, let's get to it. We're watching a clip of First Things First, talking about LeBron James and Steph Curry. Who needs a playoff run more? Deep playoff run, or I guess maybe just make the playoffs. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't watched the clip. I feel like Nick Wright is going to say Steph Curry, because he's going to say LeBron has done everything. It's just amazing that he's even just playing right now, which I disagree with. I'm guessing, and that's why I'm not going to talk too much, because I want to hear what he has to say. I just wanted to get ahead of that in case that is what he had to say. But I really think LeBron James actually is the one that more needs to make the playoffs, and Steph Curry less so, because they are both ultimately achieving different things within their careers. So I'm really curious to see what they have to say. We'll break it down from there. Let's get into it.
Warriors, Lakers, sticking with tonight.
All right, no doubt about it, Nick.
Wow.
Any who needs it more question when it involves winning with LeBron and Steph is LeBron.
Yep.
For many reasons, in my view. Number one,
he's chasing the GOAT.
As great as Steph is, LeBron's better.
Of course.
And LeBron is the one in the GOAT conversation. So any achievements that he has are potential arguments for him in the GOAT conversation. I mean, that's really how we view it. Like, if they make the playoffs, those in the LeBron camp can say, LeBron made the playoffs at 39
And
when
what
Jordan didn't.
And what will the Jordan camp say?
Jordan didn't have Anthony Davis.
Right, exactly.
but you know what I'm
Yes.
saying? Like, LeBron is still building a case for the GOAT. Now,
Exactly.
and on the other hand, Steph has all. Now, you can say LeBron, I don't know if we say he overachieved, because obviously so much was expected of him. He certainly didn't underachieve. He either met what was expected, which was arguably the best ever, or he overachieved. But Steph has overachieved by a mile already.
Yeah.
Steph Curry, and not just because, Nick, he played at Davidson and was a mid-lottery pick.
Mm-hmm.
It's because his size.
He's small.
For any player his size, he has far outlasted what would be expected. Steph Curry is the only player, and this is the part I know you'll love this discussion. He is the only player under 6'6" to be the centerpiece of a dynasty. You had George Mikan, Bill Russell, Magic and Bird, if you call the Celtics a dynasty, Magic and Kareem, and then Bird with the Celtics, Jordan, Kobe, Shaq, Tim Duncan, and the Warriors.
Yep.
And Steph, of course, is the only, he's 6'2". When Jordan did it at 6'6", that defied conventional wisdom. Like, you can't have a dynasty with your best player as a two guard. Jordan did that, and now Steph's done it as a small point guard. Isaiah Thomas, a mini dynasty.
Right.
Right.
Well,
the
yeah,
bad boy
I think
Pistons.
you
That's
can
not a
take it.
dynasty.
I think you can take it even further, Brew. Steph is one of only two guys, he and Isaiah, under 6'6", to be the unquestioned best player on a champion. That's just a champion. Like
Right.
Bob Cousy, before Russell got there, they didn't win.
I don't think they didn't
No,
win it,
he
right.
won league MVP. The Supersonics.
Gus
but
Williams, but you had Dennis Johnson.
Exactly.
Jack
That's my
Sickler.
point. So I agree with you on that. Like, the size thing is, whenever people talk about, can Jalen Brunson be the best player on a champion, all these types of things, it is not knocks on these guys.
Right.
It is, we have 75 years of NBA history that says the best guy on your team better be Michael Jordan's size or bigger. Kobe Bryant's size or bigger, or you're cooked, except for Zeke and Steph. But the reason I totally disagree with you is because if the question is, who would a championship mean more for? Okay, then I might go LeBron.
That's an interesting one right there.
But they are far off from it. But I think Steph is now entering, you said after the title, I don't know if it was the title, you said recently.
Fourth title?
That he was a top 10 guy.
Yeah.
Right?
It was
top 10
probably
guy.
after their title, yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to make a prediction about how we are going to, when people are going to rank players, the guy that Steph is going to be elbowing with, going back and forth.
For top 10.
It's going to be him and Kobe. Not to be top 10, but when you're actually ranking them, like I have this guy 7, this guy 8, this guy 9, I think Bird, Kobe, and Steph are all going to be in around the same area. And Kobe and Steph have oddly similar resumes in this regard. They both have multiple championships where people are like, wasn't the best guy.
Right,
you know what I mean?
right.
Wasn't the best guy.
3 for Kobe,
right.
2 for
They
Steph.
both have at least one final series where it's like, ooh, that's a bad series. You know what I mean? That was a tough one. For Steph, it would have been 16, and for Kobe, it would be 0-4 against Detroit, right? So
And the first Celtics one wasn't great.
Oh yeah.
In fact, I think Detroit, didn't he hit the game winner?
He
in the
hit the
second
one,
game?
and then but they have those, and the one thing that is an odd blemish on Kobe's resume that is not on the resume of any of the other guys in that pantheon is smack dab middle of his prime, missed the playoffs entirely. That first year without Shaq, and then the next 2 years bounced in the first round, including so 3 straight years for Kobe, middle of his prime, did either miss the playoffs and get out of round 1. Steph, I don't know if we're still considering this his prime, but Steph missed the playoffs certainly in his prime back-to-back years. Now, 1 year we throw out the broken hand,
right?
But the next year they were the 9 seed, lost in the play-in to LeBron. Right now, I think people still consider this the end of Steph's prime. If he misses the postseason again, I think that you're right. He's not in the GOAT conversation. But when people are like, who would you rather have had, Bird or Steph, Kobe or?
No, I just wholeheartedly disagree. You can't say that. You can't. Basketball is such a different sport like that. That's like saying, who would you rather have, Patrick Mahomes or Jerry Rice? It's just completely different players doing completely different things. And that is the major disadvantage that they've just already highlighted, but then they're throwing it out. They're highlighting this glaring thing that when you're 6'2", it's incredibly difficult to lead a team and to be the centerpiece of a dynasty or just a championship team in general, but then they're like holding that against Steph. It doesn't make sense. I mean, if you had to pick between a Kobe Bryant or a Steph, you would lean towards Kobe Bryant because Kobe Bryant is more resilient in that regard. I love Steph Curry. I mean, Steph Curry is absolutely amazing, but theoretically, Steph, like a Kobe Bryant in a lot of ways can more consistently will his team to a victory than a Steph. Because Steph's game is so reliant on obviously shooting, and he needs spacing and he needs to rely on someone else to play defense and someone else to get the rebounds. Like it's more of the team sport in that regard. He can't do everything else at a high enough level like a Shaq, like a Kobe or like a LeBron for that matter, because they're just so much bigger and stronger. They can do more. Kobe Bryant can lock down and now play defense against LeBron James. Steph Curry can't. So if you knew that you were just going to be on a team with a bunch of randoms, right? And we're not like picking and choosing, because obviously if you're really designing a team, you can make Steph your centerpiece and you could say, oh, I don't need Kobe, right? Like obviously. But it's just different because it's like, if you put it this way, Steph with a bunch of scrubs versus Kobe with a bunch of scrubs, Kobe's going to win like every single time. Because Kobe could now walk up to Steph and say, I got you, I'm playing D on you. Now you're mine. And Steph will still succeed, but it's going to be more difficult. Steph now, if he's playing with a bunch of scrubs, can't say, all right, guys, back away. I got Kobe. He's mine. Kobe will tear him up. And again, that's nothing against Steph. That's just a reality. It's just the nature of the game. And that's why basketball is such a fascinating sport, because it's both a team sport, but then also one-on-one. It's very interesting in that regard. In football, you don't really have quarterbacks going one-on-one against anyone. Like they always say, like, oh, what, is Bosa? How's Bosa gonna fare against, Mahomes? And it's like, well, Bosa has to get through like an offensive line first, and also like, what's his secondary doing? Are they covering anyone behind him, or are players wide open? What's going on? What type of play calls is Andy Reid calling? What's the call on defense? How many blitzes are they calling? Like, there's so many different factors. Basketball is both team, but then at the end of it, it gets reduced to one-on-one. Even if you're playing like a zone D, at the end of it, someone is covering someone one-on-one, right? It's poetry in motion, honestly. It's more complicated than I think the average person even realizes. But ultimately, it still gets reduced down to me versus you, go. And so that's why someone like a Steph, you have to like kind of accept that, especially when you're making these rankings, which I never like rankings personally, and comparing them. So this idea that Steph needs to make the playoffs, or otherwise it hurts his legacy, or it hurts his conversation among greats, it's just absolutely not. Absolutely not. And Steph Curry changed the NBA. I mean, even people who are mega super LeBron fans, who say that LeBron is the GOAT, can often admit that Steph Curry changed the game of basketball more than LeBron has. I mean, it's just the only thing that people try to credit to LeBron is the fact that he, empowered players, which I really disagree, because I don't really think that he was the leader of that. Not to mention his mobility, or not even his mobility, but some of the decisions that he's made, I would argue, actually hurt the game more than anything. But I'm not holding his feet to the fire, honestly, in that regard. So I don't want it to come off like that. But to act like that's what, people are going to really be having these debates about Steph Curry versus like Kobe Bryant, and it's like, well, Kobe didn't make the playoffs, or Steph Curry did. It's like, that's so dumb. Steph Curry can only do so much. He can only do so much. He can only put people on his shoulders so much because of his height and the style of his game. That's just the reality. He can't say, oh my God, I got to go get 20. In order to win this game, I got to go get 20 boards. He can't do it. He can't play lockdown defense against, Paul George is starting to light it up, and he can't say, all right, I got to step up to him. Paul George is hot. I got to step up and play D. Kobe can do that. LeBron can do that. Jordan can do that. It's so, and again, I'm not going to ding Steph Curry for not being able to do that, because it's not like he just can't. It's a physicality. It's a height thing. It's a limitation, right? I'm just not, that's like saying, why can't, Shaq, I'm going to ding Shaq because he can't, handle the ball as well as Steph can, right? Like, it's like, it doesn't make any sense. It's silly. So that's why I take issue with what Nick is saying. It doesn't really make sense, but I agree with what Brew is saying, where when people are measuring legacy, you're measuring the legacy of LeBron, of is he the GOAT or is he not? Yes or no? That is what his legacy is. Is he the GOAT or is he not? Would you rather have Michael Jordan or would you rather have LeBron James? That's what it gets reduced down to. Steph Curry, everyone just says he's the greatest shooter to ever play the game and changed basketball forever. That's his legacy, whether he makes the playoffs or not, whether he wins another championship or not. That's what it really comes down to. So those are my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, please let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is the most amazing thing, then definitely please let me know. Either way, let's get into some discussions. Let's get into some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. As I said, we are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. Thank you so much, and see you next time.